Controller Ben Rosenfield, state funding accounts for 14% of our city budget. Items that we rely on state funding for most heavily are public health, welfare and human services, law enforcement, and redevelopment, which is affordable housing. If Governor Brown called you, I think from like a rotary phone, and said he was cutting state funding for each of these areas by 20%, but you could save one area from such cuts, what area would it be and why?
Can you say the 4 areas again?
The 4 areas again are public health, welfare and human services, law enforcement, and redevelopment / affordable housing. And so to you first, Mr. Ting.
So I was first, sorry.
Yes.
You know, California faces a $20 to $30 billion deficit every year. And about 2 years ago, as a person who's in charge of bringing about 1/3 of the revenue into San Francisco, I took notice. And every single day in my office, I've noticed the inequities around Proposition 13. And what I wonder is exactly your question, which is, do we really want to continue to subsidize every single office building, every single amusement park, every single ballpark in the state, to the tune of $7 billion of cost to the state of California? Or do we actually want to take in that money and then fund law enforcement, or fund affordable housing, or fund education, or fund public health, or fund welfare? I actually think the question is, if the governor called me and say, what are you cutting? Why don't you actually start being a Democrat and start talking to the voters about why we need more revenue? And we don't have to have more revenue just by raising taxes. What we've seen in San Francisco is we've done it in our office just by closing loopholes. Just by making sure everybody paid their fair share, by making sure the playing field is even. You might have heard about Amazon. Amazon, you know, for those of you who are fans of internet shopping, I know many of us are. But again, they're not playing by the same rules. We have small businesses in San Francisco that have to pay sales taxes, yet people who buy on the internet do not. That's not fair. Small businesses are the #1 drivers of employment here in San Francisco. So again, I would just make sure that we would not focus on cuts, but we would look at revenue options.
Take that, Governor Brown. Mayor Rees.
Thank you. You know, in ways he's already called, he's already made those statements. And you all know and read about redevelopment. We're in a big fight there. And I've already taken the decision. I've joined 10 other mayors across this great state to suggest to him that redevelopment is completely wrong to eliminate. And we're fighting that. In fact, today, the California Supreme Court issued a ruling enjoining them from implementing the bills that would eliminate redevelopment. So we have some months now to determine what we're going to do. But in addition to that, you said the other areas. This is why I have proposed a half-cent sales tax for this November with the support of the Board of Supervisors to go on the November ballot. We need that extra money, the cushion, so that these cuts, as we will well expect, and I do expect this governor to make those calls, maybe not a very friendly phone call, but he'll definitely make the calls and shots because the state is not bringing in the revenue that they had expected. In fact, you saw the headlines, $539 million short of what their projections are. That means there's going to be more cuts. Having gone through many, many meetings with community-based agencies who help us provide services in the city, you know, I'd say I'm probably partial to protecting as much as I can the public health costs, the care needed, because without your health, there's not much more you can do. And there's so many people that really require the support in the healthcare area.
Thank you for the question. This is sort of fundamental for what I said in my opening about we have to have a debate about what role government is going to play in our lives each and every day, and more responsibility as we look at federal and state cuts is going to fall to us at the local level to demonstrate that we can help create economic opportunity and demonstrate that government can make a difference in people's lives each and every day. I would agree with Mr. Lee that public health is the most important thing because that is going to suffer a disproportionate percentage of budget cuts. It's a $1.4 billion budget number for San Francisco. But what it means is that we are going to have to be creative. We're going to have to grow the economy. That's why I call redoing the city's business payroll tax, so we help grow the economy. But it also means that we're going to have to demonstrate that we can be responsible with taxpayer dollars. Go into zero-based budgeting so we can match our expenditures to our priorities, public health being at the top of the list. Why nonprofit reform is so important. Protecting the services that are provided, but making sure that we are holding nonprofits accountable and we are being better customers and they are being better providers. And I think that these are the kind of things that we have to focus on. And I'm hopeful that Mr. Lee is going to do that, because I have to tell you, it's all about matching priorities. And I think it's indicative of a concern that I have that we have a streets bond measure on the ballot this year to deal with repaving our streets. And why are we in that position? Because we didn't maintain our streets over the last 20 to 25 years, and we didn't match our priorities to our expenditures. And a lot of that happened when Ed Lee was the DPW director. So I think that that goes to exactly what we're talking about. Understanding how to match your budget priorities to things that are important and matter to San Franciscans. And I think DPH is at the top of the list.
Yeah.
So that's it for our first round. Before we take a quick break, and I encourage you guys during the break to write down your questions for audience question time. Before we do that, though, let's do a quick poll of the candidates here. I have a question. And we'll start at the opposing end with Leland here, and we can move down this way. And everyone just gets about, it should not require an explanation, but we are in a political debate, so. So the question is this, I know your answer. If elected, would you keep Police Chief Greg Suhr on as Police Chief when you're elected? So, Leland?
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm going to add the caveat. I went out and met with a lot of I went to different precincts and met with captains and just said I'd love to sit down and meet. And Greg Suhr was the only one who came and met with me before he was the captain and said a lot.
Yes, and I've had 4 different captains in my district, and I know what great disruption it causes to change, so I want to give him some chance.
My answer is thank you.